Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. You may wonder why is a bottle of Mr. Clean in a spray bottle right next to me while I'm doing this video. There is a horsefly that has managed to enter my house, and I intend to murder him. This is not the type of bug where you can just let him exist in your house and you're okay. This is the type of bug that doesn't land on you, but just kind of hovers by your ear to be as loud and annoying as possible. And since he has done that more than 3 times today, I am determined to kill him, and if I see him, he will die. That being said, let's get on to the topic of today's video. Over the past few years in this channel, I've been going over how merchant service providers, banks, and credit card processors have been slowly tightening it on small businesses and making it a little bit more difficult for them to do business. And there are many ways that this has been occurring. The first way that I've been going over for a while, whether it comes to Stripe, PayPal, or Square, is that they are no longer refunding the 2.9% transaction fee when you refund a customer. It used to be if you're taking credit cards, you would have to pay a flat 30-cent fee and a 2.9% transaction fee, which is 2.9% of the total transaction. If I refund a customer, listen, having to eat the 30-cent fee, fine, understandable, cost of doing business. Having to eat the 2.9% if I refund a customer, that's going a little too far, and many vendors have announced they're doing that. Some have gone back on it. Some have sunk their teeth in and are not going back. Another way that credit card processors are nickel and diming small businesses are with chargebacks. Back in the day, if you wanted to file a chargeback, what you had to do is you had to go into your wallet, take your credit card out, and call the 1-800 number that's on the back of your card. And this is a really annoying thing to do because you're going to wait on hold with somebody in another country that doesn't speak English very well. It's going to take you like a half hour to file a chargeback. Nowadays, filing a chargeback is very simple. All you have to do is log on to your bank or credit card provider's website, you click a transaction, you click dispute, you can type LOL into the subject box, hit submit, and your chargeback is filed. Since it is easier for people to file a chargeback, you now have to worry about fraudulent chargebacks more than you did when there was that half an hour on the phone with somebody in another country that barely speaks English and waiting on hold to file a chargeback. More people will file chargebacks when they take 5 seconds to do than they will when it takes 30 minutes to do. Back in the day, if I won the chargeback, I was good. If you fraudulently tried to charge back what you purchased from us and I can prove that we provided what you paid for, I win, I'm good. Now, what many card providers are doing is they are charging you a fee of $20 to $25 for each chargeback, whether or not you win. Stripe started doing this. So let's say that I run a small store and I sell bottles of water. Let's say every day for 1 week, you come into my store and you buy a bottle of water off the credit card for $1. If you did that 5 days of the week, I probably made $2 off you that week. Imagine if you wanted to get back at me, so you filed a chargeback on each bottle of water. I say, listen, here is the video footage of the person walking into my store. Here's him leaving the store with the water. Here are the receipts that he signed. I win the chargeback, but it doesn't matter because you filed 5 chargebacks, and whether or not I win or lose the chargeback, I have to pay $20. So you just cost me $100 for 5 transactions where I made $2. Great way to get back at a small business if you want to prank them or punk them, huh? Now, a lot of businesses are starting to become conscious of this nickel and diming, and they are deciding to charge their customers fees for using a credit card. In the past, I didn't support this, but as this gets more and more ridiculous, and as the credit card processors continue to nickel and dime the merchants who have no way to respond in the society that we now live in, where a credit card is an essential part of daily life for most people, I am okay with this. I think that they need to push back, and I think the merchants need to make very, very clear to their walk-in customers and their online customers that this nickel and diming is not so that they can make more money. They are simply passing on the nickel and diming of Visa, MasterCard, Chase, and the merchant service providers. This is a news article that came out recently, and I really like to push back against this narrative that this is just these evil small business owners that are just trying to charge more money because they're just evil bastards. This is an article that came out in Bloomberg. It was on front page news saying bodegas have been put on notice as Visa fights back on card surcharges. Now, I understand that many people who've lived in New York City, sometimes the bodegas can be schemy. Sometimes you walk in there and they literally just went to Walmart and they are selling whatever was at Walmart for double the cost. Sometimes they charge people different prices based on what you look like when you walk in the bodega and what they think you can pay, which is why many of the bodegas around Nostrand and Clifton, back where I used to live in Bed-Stuy, every time you'd walk in there, there'd be somebody screaming at the guy behind the counter, wanting to kill him because I could go into that for days. I am not trying to say that every single bodega deserves the benefit of the doubt, nor am I trying to say that every single bodega acts in an honest manner. I'm simply explaining a basic principle that is going to be true for both bodegas, repair shops, and virtually every single type of small business. And I want you to keep that in mind as I read this article. The world's largest payment network is making changes to how it deals with merchants who want to charge customers extra when paying with a credit card. The company has also started sending in-person auditors to ensure stores are complying with its rules when levying such surcharges. So there were two rules back in the day that I remember, when I remember looking it up back in like 2007, 2008. One, you couldn't charge a fee to use a credit card, and two, you could not have a minimum to choose a card. I forget if it was Visa or MasterCard that did this, but there was actually a section on Visa or MasterCard's website back in 2007, 2008, where you could actually report a merchant for having a minimum for using a credit card. This is problematic because a 30-cent transaction fee could actually be more than the profit margin for the pack of gum or bottle of water that you purchased. If there is no allowed minimum to use a credit card and there is a fee for the credit card that is not a percentage fee, but rather a per transaction. Oh, I'm going to get you, motherfucker. That felt good. If there is going to be a fee per transaction, and that fee per transaction has the ability to actually be more money than the profit margin off of that transaction, that sucks. And the idea back in the day is that you're just supposed to eat it if some dickhead comes in and decides to use his Amex to buy a bottle of water, because credit card customers spend more money in general. So credit card companies are really doing you a favor by allowing you to lose money, which most merchants said screw that to. So that whole you're not allowed to require customers have a minimum purchase to use a credit card, since so many merchants were disobeying it because it just made no sense. Again, I can't do business if you want to buy Winterfresh with a credit card. They just kind of turned it from a rule to kind of like a suggestion kind of thing. And I understand why. We're just making sure that when customers do get surcharged, it's something that's fair and equitable. Visa Chief Executive Officer Ryan McKerney said on a conference call this week, "We don't feel great that customers get surcharged, but of course, in certain jurisdictions in the US and around the world, merchants have the ability to do that." You know what? We don't feel good getting nickel and dimed while you are making billions more than you did last year, you piece of shit. If you take a look over here, Visa, in 2018, their net profit was $10 billion. In 2022, their net profit is $14.9 billion. So they went from $10 billion to $10.8 billion to $12 billion to $14 billion in the past 5 years. If we were to look at a company like JP Morgan, a major bank, because banks can also be responsible and accountable for some of the interchange fees. In 2018, they made $32 billion. They went from $32 billion, they made $48 billion, and then they made $37 billion. They seem to be doing pretty good. They seem to be making good money. And if you look at PayPal, they used to be making $2 billion. 2.4, 4.2, 4.1, 2.4. Man, they seem to be doing pretty well for themselves compared to how they were doing back when they didn't have these extra fees. The banks, the credit card processors, the credit card companies themselves are all making considerably more money now than they were 5 years ago when the fees were much less. A lot of people are saying that when I do these videos on the chargeback fee or the refund fee or everything else, that I just want everything for free. This is costing them money. More people are using credit cards. There's a lot of expenses involved in it. Then they're making more money year after year. And they're making more money year after year before they had all these bullshit fees. I think that we should be pointing this out to our customers. I think that every single store that is charging a surcharge to use credit cards should print out the income statements from the 10K for the last 5 years of the major banks and major credit card processors and hang it right next to the notice. These are the people that are getting your money, not us. It's becoming a familiar sight at small businesses across the country. Signs at checkout noting that if a consumer pays with a credit card, there will be an additional fee. Or at restaurants, waiters will deliver the bill and there will be one price for paying with cash and another for using a card. About 23% of small businesses said they charge an extra fee to customers for using credit cards, according to a survey last year. I wonder why that is. In New York, a growing number of bodegas and restaurants have turned to surcharges to counter the cost of accepting credit cards. While businesses are allowed to offer a discount if consumers pay with cash, they aren't allowed to advertise one price and then add a surcharge at checkout if customers want to pay with card. I disagree with this. I think that the business should be able to honestly pass on the cost of doing business to the customer. If the customer wants to do business in a way that is more expensive, cash-paying customers should not have to pay more to deal with it. Discounting for paying cash versus charging more for paying credit card is tomato. And at the end of the day, I think the onus should be on the people who are increasing the cost of the transaction, the parasites that sit in between the customer and the business that are choosing to extract more wealth while doing nothing to deserve it. At the start of the year, the network could also begin fining merchants it found to be non-compliant, according to the notice. While the first violation is only a warning letter, the second and third violations carry fines of $5,000 and $25,000 respectively. Good luck getting that out of a New York City bodega. They will reincorporate the next day under a different name, bankrupt the old company, and say, F you. I wish them the best of luck getting $25,000 as a fee out of any New York City bodega. If any of them pay that, shame on you. At the center of the debate are interchange fees. While Visa and MasterCard set the rates for those fees, it's the banks that issue the cards that keep most of the fees. Even if they amount to just pennies for purchase, those costs have been rising in recent years as more consumers use credit cards, which typically carry steeper interchange fees than debit cards. In all, U.S. merchants shelled out a record $160 billion on these so-called swipe fees last year, up 16% from 2021, according to Nielsen Report industry publication. It's not just mom-and-shop businesses increasingly leaning on surcharges. A growing number of businesses that have in the past paid by check or through direct bank transfers, think consultants, general contractors, or lawn care providers, are using surcharges to counter the cost of accepting credit cards for the first time. So again, let's just get this straight. More people are using cards. Companies and banks are making more money. They're making more fees year over year, 16% more year after year. And the small businesses' rates have to keep going up. Why must the small business continue to eat the costs rather than putting the blame where it belongs, with the credit card company? To be clear, I don't even have a problem with the credit card companies making more money year after year, with the banks making more after year, with Visa making more year after year. I'm not going to say that it should be illegal for the credit card processor to ask for more money. I will say that it is bullshit that they don't allow us to pass on the cost of doing business to the customer. If you want to be the bitch, be the whole bitch. If you want more money, then don't try to have me hide from my customers the fact that you, the parasite middleman between the transaction, are asking for more money. What pisses me off is not the fact that they're charging more money. Admittedly, yeah, that kind of does piss me off. What really pisses me off here is the fact that they are not allowing the business owner to communicate to their customers that the reason you are paying more is because this middleman parasite in the transaction wants more money. Visa wants more money. MasterCard wants more money. The bank wants more money. PayPal, Square, all of these middlemen that are making more money year after year have decided that they want more money. And you are going to try to silence me and not allow me to communicate to my customers that the reason your price is going up is because they want more money. That's bullshit. Do not force me to raise my prices because you're raising yours. If you're going to be the bitch, be the whole bitch and take accountability and responsibility for why prices are going up. The reality of the situation is that the banks, Visa and MasterCard, want to be able to make more money while simultaneously not allowing the consumer to be mad at the proper party. The consumer should have the right to be mad at the credit card company rather than the business. Every single bodega, every single small business in the United States of America that is charging more money, that is charging a surcharge to use the credit card, should have that notice printed right next to a 10K for the last 5 years for Visa, MasterCard, JP Morgan, PayPal, whoever else that is involved in the transaction. Let your customers know that the reason that the prices are going up is because $2 billion wasn't enough for them. They needed to make $2.4 billion. That is what pisses me off. And above all is this garbage line over here that businesses aren't allowed to impose a fee that is more than the cost of accepting the card. The cost of accepting the card is not just the 2% for the transaction fee and the 30-cent flat rate transaction fee. It is the potential cost of being scammed. If you are going to bill me every single time a customer files a chargeback, regardless of whether it is fraudulent, that is risk, and I have to calculate that risk into my prices. If a kid could walk into my store and buy a bottle of water for $1 every day, Monday through Friday, and then file 5 chargebacks on Saturday and make me liable to pay $100 in fees for $2 in profit, you bet your ass that that's going to be worked into the surcharge, and it is going to be more than simply the percentage that you are charging to take the credit card. You are not allowing merchants to factor risk into their pricing, risk that you are choosing to put them at with your shit-ass policy because you want to make more money. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that every single bodega in the ghetto parts of New York City are fair to their customers. I can't do that. I lived in Bed-Stuy back when it wasn't exactly the nicest neighborhood, before it was gentrified and had organic orange juice and all this other shit. I know how this works. I know that there are a lot of places that don't have prices on all their shit. They charge different prices based on who walks in. There's always an argument or something going on. Like, I get it. But the principle is the same. And regardless of whether or not these businesses have always acted in the most upstanding fashion when it comes to dealing with their customers, as much as I can understand that people have complaints about things at bodegas, maybe the food isn't always as fresh as it is at a Whole Foods or an H-E-B, maybe the customer service isn't always as smiley and bubbly as you'd like it to be, maybe they're not always as clean and well put together and all that shit. It's the principle that matters. They're going to start doing this to bodegas, which means they're going to start doing it to higher-end restaurants, which means they're going to be doing it to your local grocery store, which means they're going to be doing it to your local carpenter, to your local print shop, and everybody else. If they want to squeeze more money out of the small businesses, they cannot silence the small businesses from making it clear to their customers who is asking for more money. Every single small business in the U.S. that wishes to charge their customers a surcharge for using a credit card should be allowed to do so, and more importantly, should be allowed to point to the party responsible. If you want to charge that surcharge, do it. I don't do it at my business at this point in time, but if I were to do it, you bet your ass I would hang the 10K of every single one of these blood-sucking fucks that wants more money right next to the notice so my customers know who is increasing their prices. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.